click record. So we are now officially recording. Wonderful. So for those of you who are painting with me for the first time tonight, I'm going to just go through some basics of how I like to set up my painting area. And some of you have kits, some of you don't have kits, some of you all have your own supplies. But the way I like to set things up is I will put my canvas right in front of me, like right here. And I'm right-handed, so next to me I have my cup of water, I have a paper towel, I have my brushes right here, and then I set up my palette right here too, so I can do all of my color mixing and brush grabbing and washing all right here. So let me tell you about this palette. Our palette tonight is pretty simple. In fact, we don't even need blue. I don't know why I put blue on my palette, so ignore that. I didn't mean to do that. But those of you who have the kits from me, the little tubs, you do not need to put your black on your palette. Just keep it in your little container. We do not need to really mix any black into our flowers or anything like that. It's only going to be used for our cow. There might be a little bit in our flowers. There's a little gray, but it's not worth fighting your little tub to put out. So don't worry about that. You are going to want white on your palette, red, yellow, and green. And I typically set mine up in a color wheel because typically we blend light colors together. But you set your palette up however you feel most comfortable. Mine's a little bit sloppy tonight. And once again, I'm sorry, we do not need any blue. But if you do have an ultimate kit or you have your own supplies, you are more than welcome to mix your own colors. And you can do, you know, a purple color scheme, or you can do, you know, lavender and blue flowers. I mean, whatever you want. Okay. So go ahead and start setting up your palette. I do recommend those of you who have kits from me, just put about 50% of the paint that I've sent you out on your palette. You might need to use like a little knife or a plastic spoon and scoop some of that out, but save the other half of your paint in case for some reason you do have to leave tonight. That way tomorrow when you want to paint again, you still have paint that hasn't dried out. And then you can keep painting, or you might not even use all of this paint tonight. I tried to give you way more than you need, so you could adventure on another painting or work on this one another time or something like that, okay? So anyway, I'll give you guys just a moment to kind of get that set up, and I'm gonna see any more people are coming in. Okay. We're looking pretty good tonight. So for those of you who have just joined, thank you for muting. I will just say again, anytime you have a question tonight or just a comment or anything at all, just unmute and let me know what's going on, what's troubling you, and we will work it out together, okay? Another thing is if you do not want to put your screen on your video, don't feel like you have to. I do love seeing your faces and your workspaces and how it's going, but don't feel like you have to. If you want to send me a private message on Facebook Messenger throughout the night, if you have any issues like that you don't want to share with the class, by all means, I've got my phone right next to me, and I will try to check that so that I can see if anybody needs anything. Sometimes I'm not super good at that, but I always say that I will try, so I will try. Okay. All right, so this is our painting tonight. I do recommend that if you are able, like if you have your phone next to you, or if you have an extra iPad or computer or something, pull this image up. You can find it on the Humble Life's Facebook page, and you know, just pull it up so that you have it for reference. I do show this as often as I can, but I don't have a ton of elbow space, workspace over here, so I can't keep it in the screen for us the whole night. So some of you know how to do like the fancy split screens and whatever, so you might want to do that. Either pull it up on your phone or whatever. If you cannot find it for some reason, just tell me and I can try to send it to you real quick through Messenger or email or something like that, okay? So that you have it. Okay, so let's see, a note about this type of paint. I know some of you do have your own supplies. I don't know what brand everybody is working with, but tonight we're working with the Blick acrylic paints. And for the sake of the class, I typically don't like you to mix water with these paints. I know that the tendency is take your brush, get it wet, mix it with your paint. But this is about a 2-hour class, and we do move pretty quickly. And because we move quickly, we do want our paint to dry quickly. And so this paint works best when you use nice thin layers and you layer it up. So you want your first layer to dry, and then you'll paint another one, and so forth. If you are painting with gobs and gobs of paint, typically it won't dry quickly. And if you're also mixing water with your paint, it also won't dry quickly. But I do highly suggest, if you have paint left over, to experiment with water, to experiment being gobby, whatever it is that you want to do. But for the sake of the class tonight and just keeping up with me, try not to mix water in, okay? Last thing I'm gonna say, and then we can get started, is anytime you are not using your paintbrushes, please just stick them in your water cup. That way the paint doesn't dry and get all crusty on the brushes, and we can help our brushes live long, lasting, beautiful lives, okay? That would be awesome.
So our white is a little chunky.
Mm-hmm.
Should we mix a little bit of water with it, or should we just kind of leave it? Just a little bit?
Yeah, for sure. You definitely can. So we're using the white first. It's going to be with our cow. So you could even just try without the water and see how you feel about it. It might just be thicker paint, which is okay. But if it is kind of annoying, then yeah, just grab a little bit of water and just see what happens. Especially like when we get into our flowers, you may not need any water because we're going to be mixing our white with a little bit of red, a little bit of yellow, and the red and the yellow might be enough for it to kind of loosen up that paint. But just see.
Yeah, I mean, all the other colors are perfect, but the consistency of the white is like more like chunkier.
Sour cream.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ooh,
sour cream consistency.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Just see what you need to do. Yeah.
Thanks.
Sure, y'all. Okay. Well, cool. Well, I'm going to check across here. I am going to try to check in with you guys as much as I can. Check on your smiling faces and make sure you do in fact have smiling faces and you're not freaking out. Looks like everybody is pretty ready to go. So very cool. I'm really excited about this this painting. For a while, we were doing farm animals with flower crowns like every single week, and then I thought we should take a break from that. So we're back at it, which is awesome. So, gosh, I'm going to stare at this for just a second. We do really just jump right into drawing our cow first. There is no background on this. It's just a nice white background. So if you do want a background on your painting, I would wait till maybe the end of the class and do it then, unless you've already pre-painted your canvas. So otherwise, if you guys are ready, I'm ready, and we are gonna jump right in. Last thing I'll say is we are going to take a break about 8 o'clock, maybe 8:15 or so, just about 5 minutes or so, kind of a little intermission. If you need to grab a snack or if you just need to work on something a little bit longer, or run to the restroom. Okay, so just so you know that will happen. Okay, and if I forget that, which I probably won't, but I might, somebody just yell at me, remind me. Okay. Okay, cool. I'm going to check one more time, just make sure everybody's okay. Everybody looks good. Okay. All right. So you guys, we're going to be starting tonight with our size 9 brush. It's the largest brush that you have in your kit. We do have 2 other brushes that we're going to be working with tonight. It's going to be a size 5 and then a detail brush or something very similar to that. Okay. So we're going to use this brush a lot. It's going to be your best friend for a while. Okay, so we're gonna jump right into this cow. So the first thing we're gonna wanna do is draw out our cow. Okay, so I know that this can be a little bit intimidating for some people, so I'm gonna try my best to go as slow as possible, but I am gonna just encourage you to jump in, and you just have to start. Okay, so I know some of you haven't painted with me before, you like to just like watch me for a while maybe and then do it, but I'm just gonna keep on going. So if you don't just kind of jump in, you might start falling behind, and that might stress you out just a little bit. So I really encourage you just to jump right in and just try your best, and trust your hand, don't trust your brain, okay? Your brain is gonna tell you all kinds of things of doubt, saying that you can't do it, or it's too big, or it's too small, or whatever. But all of these things can be fixed, okay? So here we go. So I'm gonna take my largest brush, okay? I'm gonna go right into my black paint, and I'm just gonna what's called activate it. So I'm just putting my brush in my paint, and I'm just kind of dabbing it, right? I'm just kind of moving it around. I'm kind of rolling my brush in there a little bit. I don't want gobs of paint on my brush, and I'm kind of rolling it, and that's gonna help me have a nice point, okay? Okay, so what we're gonna do here, this is gonna be interesting because I'm gonna be drawing this from the side here. So what we're gonna do first is we're actually gonna put in our ear, okay? So if you look at our painting, our ear comes right to the edge here, right? Right there. And it's about 1.5 inches down a little bit, right? Okay, so we know that. So I'm gonna kind of come over here to my canvas. I'm gonna kind of come maybe about 1.5 inches down roughly, give myself a little mark. And I'm gonna come right over here to the edge, okay? And I'm just gonna draw kind of like an almond shape. Something like that. All right, so our ear, I want to point out that it is rounded over here. This is not a point, okay? It does come down and it's rounded. It comes down, okay? So this is, you know, this shape is pretty symmetrical. Like if I were to draw a line between this top half and this bottom half are the same shape, right? I'm gonna change it up just a little bit. I'm gonna come down, and I'm just gonna come down a little bit more down here and kind of come up a little bit. So I'm just gonna change that shape just a little bit, right? I'm gonna pull you guys in a little bit closer. There we go. Okay. Now remember too, a lot of these shapes can change. So if you don't love them, we can figure out how to change them later. Another thing I want to remind you is all up here is going to be lots of flowers, okay? So you don't have to worry too much about drawing up here, okay? So, you know, the shape of your ear can change. You can put flowers on it. You know, if you draw an eye and you really just don't like it, you can just make your flower crown be like kind of wilted and clumsy and just kind of cover that eye, and it's just a kind of a clumsy cow. Okay, so anyway, there's ways to change it. So I'm gonna come in right here, and I'm just gonna draw like a little line, make that nice and dark for you, that just kind of comes in. See that right there? Okay. Okay. So now I'm gonna come down and I'm gonna draw the side of the face, okay? So I want you to check this space right in here, from here to here, okay? Using your imagination, I just want you to kind of stare at your canvas, and I want you to envision where the eye would go, which is gonna be right about here, and then your nose is gonna kind of come down right around here. Okay, so if you were to have a line that would be drawn down about the center of your cow's face, it would be this line, give or take, okay? So you wanna make sure that your ear is, let's see, 2.5 to 3 inches roughly, okay? So it's kind of taking up about half of my canvas, okay? This ear, kind of, I could draw a line straight down here, and that would take up about half of my canvas, okay? So that's gonna be important to the proportions of your cow tonight, okay? So anyway, I'm gonna come down. It doesn't have to be a perfectly straight line. I guess that's gonna be about the width of my ear. Let me measure over here real quick to double check that. Yeah, that's a good accuracy. Okay, so I'm gonna take my paintbrush and I'm gonna measure the length of my ear. And it comes to about there. Okay, so I've marked it with my finger. I'm gonna go to the end of my ear here, and I'm gonna come down, and I'm gonna draw a line kind of coming downward about the length of my ear. Okay. At this point, I'm gonna angle just slightly inward. Okay. So this is where we're at. This is where we're going. Yeah, we've got our first big marks. Great job. All right, I'm gonna take my brush and I'm just gonna fill this in with black. Now you'll notice when you start painting here, you will be able to see some of your canvas, the texture of the canvas. That's called the tooth of the canvas. So you can be kind of gobby here. We're not really working in any layers over here right now. We're working layers more when we get to our flowers. So I'm really just using my brush. I'm applying a lot of different amounts of pressure. Sometimes I'm pressing very light and being very light-handed, and sometimes I'm just pressing very hard. Your goal really is just to fill in this shape. Now it depends on your style, what kind of style you want your painting to be. You can paint this shape very precisely, so you have a really nice clean line, okay? Or you can be kind of more sketchy, like in this painting. And you notice how the ear, let me get real close for you. You notice how the ear, you can kind of see the canvas. It's kind of sketchy, more loose. Okay, you can do either, whichever you prefer. In this painting too, I'll let you know, I know you probably can't see it through the computer, but I can see a lot of my canvas coming through the black. There's a lot of those little white dots that are kind of coming through, and that's kind of why I left this more sketchy and loose. I just like that style, okay? So it just is up to you. Now I'm looking at my ear. I might just change the shape just a little bit. I might just make it a little bit rounder, a little more plump. That's, you know, up to you if you want to do that or not. It doesn't really matter too much. A lot of this is going to be covered, okay? Okay, so we're going to do the body. So we're going to go about midway down this line, okay? And we're going to kind of come out here kind of at a downward angle, just a slight downward angle. And this is going to be kind of a lumpy line that kind of comes down and around. That's not a very precise line. You're just drawing the body, and it's going backwards in space. Now this is kind of where you can make your cow have a little personality. You don't have to have a black and white cow. You can have an all black cow if you want to, or you can have a mostly white, kind of with like little, you know, Dalmatian spots, however you want to do it. But I'm going to kind of just draw a line that just kind of angles downward like so, okay? And I'm going to fill this area back here all in with black. And I'll tell you too, when you get down here to the bottom, you do want to wrap your drawing around to the bottom and paint the bottom edge of your canvas. This is good craftsmanship. You know, a lot of you who paint with me, when we do our backgrounds first, you remember I have you paint all of your edges, right? But in this case tonight, we don't have a background color, but we do have an image. And so we do want to wrap that around all sides, okay? That way, when you hang it up on your wall or when you give it to somebody, it just looks finished. It's nice and polished, and you don't have to frame it unless you really want to. Okay, it makes a really easy gift. Okay, and once again, it's totally your preference if you want your line to be super crisp or if you want it to be more sketchy. I might just kind of soften this out a little bit and make it just a little bit more crisp, just to have a slightly different painting than what I did originally. Why not, right? It is so fun. I do enjoy getting to paint these paintings multiple times, especially when I do animals, because every animal always has a different personality. Like you'll see tonight when I get done with this cow, it's going to be a completely different cow than the original. And that's always really fun to see how they turn out. Okay, let's see if anybody else needs to get in. Okay. All right, so I'm gonna scroll up here, make sure everybody's doing okay. Everybody looks good. No one's freaking out. That's wonderful. Okay. I'm going to draw in another black line down here. It's a little bit thinner, something like that. You can really make these shapes up. It doesn't really matter. And I'm going to wrap it around as well. Once you have that shape in there, I'm still working with my large brush. I'm still just working with black paint. I'm gonna start to kind of fill in the face, okay? And so I'm just gonna take my black paint and I'm gonna just start to apply kind of up and down. Now, whenever you're painting an animal or a person, you want to pay attention to the anatomy of the animal and you want your brush strokes to reflect that. So for example, right in here, I know that is going to be my eye. So I'm going to paint, even though it's just black, I'm going to paint as if there was an eye there. Like, so I know you can't see, but you can see my brush kind of moving. So I'm going to pretend like there's an eye. Okay, and the muscle around the eye would kind of go up and around, right? Then when I come down here, I'm just gonna kind of paint more down. Now, when you get close to your edge here, you know you have a black area. The lines are gonna kind of moosh together here, so that's okay. We're gonna define that a little bit later. Notice I'm not going too much over here where I'm gonna have my white. I'm going a little bit, but not much. I'm gonna come down. I'm leaving this area here. This is like what, 1.5 inches roughly, okay? And I'm not even gonna really mess down here right now, but I am gonna come down a little bit down in this area, just about 1 inch or so. Paint your edge. You should come up here and paint. It's gonna be kind of weird, but just paint straight across a little bit up here. Because we are gonna have flowers that kind of dip down. And so you want that background to be painted. Okay, you can even just a little bit up there. Okay. So you're gonna have something that looks like this. Kind of weird. So I'll give you guys a minute there. This is where we're at, and this is where we're going. Okay. I am excited to see everybody's cow personalities later. Is everybody doing okay? This is really the hardest part. So once we've done this, the rest is really smooth sailing. Okay. I always do love to get progress shots, process shots. So if any of you remember throughout the night, just grab your phone and take a picture of your canvas a couple of times as you do more steps as it evolves. It's always cool too, just for you to see your progress and how that unfolds also. But I do love getting those pictures, so. Oh, Tasha, Marcy, super cute, you guys. Good job. Good job. I don't think that, I think looking at this painting, it looked really complicated at first, but when I started working on it and breaking down these shapes, it really kind of was very easy, especially because it's black and white. There's not a lot of shading, so hopefully these shapes are breaking down for you guys as well. Okay, so everybody looks good. Nobody looks super stressed out. So we're gonna keep going. Okay, so I have not washed my brush yet. I am going to wash it though. I'm gonna wash it. Yep, I always have to make sure that I really am, in fact, going to wash it before I tell you to. So when you wash your brush, you just put it in your water, you swish it around. I like to get my brush to touch the very bottom of my jar and kind of scrape it across the bottom. I know that it's really getting clean that way, especially when I've been using black. And then I take my paper towel, I take my brush, and I just sandwich it in between like that. Okay. You especially want to get all of the water off of the metal part of your brush. The last thing you want to do is go in for some painting and your water droplet just drips all the way down your brush. That's the worst. So, okay, so we have a super clean, super dry brush. We're gonna go into a little bit of our details now, okay? And it's gonna kind of help us develop our nose and everything like that. So we're gonna work in our ear first. So if your painting is still wet, that's totally okay. In fact, that's probably better. I'm gonna go into my white. Once again, I'm just kind of mooshing my, my paintbrush and my white paint. It's called activating your paint. So I'm gonna activate my paint here, kind of just rolling it around. Okay. Now when I do this, I'm gonna work on my ear. I suggest being very light-handed. I want you to be very wispy. We're not drawing any real defining lines. Let me show you. These lines in here are not bold, right? They're very wispy. So when to get this kind of a look, you need to be very light-handed. So that means that you're not going to press your brush hard on your canvas. You're going to be very light. So the bristles of the brush are going to barely touch the canvas as we do this. And I'm going to be very sketchy when I do this. So for example, I'm going to kind of build in a little bit of contour here. I'm going to take my white paint and I'm just going to kind of sketch it across the top. Did you see how I do that? That's not a bold line. It's just kind of wisping, right? I'm going to do the same thing kind of down here. And kind of just something like that. And I do these rather quickly, that way I am very light-handed and very quick and kind of wispy. And then down the middle, I'm just going to draw a little bit like so. Okay, so that was easy, right? Not too hard. I'm gonna get a little more white paint. Okay, so now we're gonna move into the eye. Okay, so let me show you the eye. It's just a series of lines that kind of add up and layer that equals an eye, okay? All right. So the cool thing about this eye is that we are using white paint on a black background, okay? So if for some reason your eye just turns out crazy and you really don't like it, you can let your white paint dry completely and then just paint black paint right over it. It's like it never happened, and then you can try again, okay? But I do suggest, if you think you might do that, keep your eye until the end of the painting. Just let it sit there, and it might grow on you a little bit. We're gonna do the flowers up really close to the eye, and I tell you, when I did this painting, the flowers changed everything. All of a sudden, the proportions of my cow just kind of fell into place. So I do suggest just letting your first eye stay there until the end of the painting, and then if at the end of the painting you really don't like it, then black it out. And you can either remember how I suggested to do it, look at the painting, or I can send you the recording later as well, and you can do it that way, okay? Okay, so here we go. So this eye, what we're gonna do is I want you to find the end of your ear here, okay, that little line that we drew, and I want you to go up just a tiny little bit, okay? And we're gonna have our first eye line right there, and it's just gonna be just a swift little brush mark like so. I'm gonna bring you in real close for this, okay? Okay. I'm gonna angle downward like so. So this line is longer than this line, just by a little bit. Okay, then I'm gonna come down again, and this line, that line might be a little bit too long. So you see where the end, or my body comes in here? Wherever this body line comes in, that's about where you want your eye to end, okay? I'll go. See how I erased that? There we go, okay? I'm gonna come up, I'm gonna draw like a line going across here over to the side of my cows, and I'm gonna kind of sweep in a line. I wanna be wispy with this, kind of angling down and around like so. Okay. Now right in this corner, I'm gonna have a couple of darker marks. So I'm just gonna press slightly with my brush. I did it 3 times right in the corner there. I'm pressing very lightly. I'm gonna come down just a little bit on the cheek of my cow. Okay, now right up in here, I'm also being very wispy. I'm gonna do a little bit of lashes, okay? And these are very quick, and I'm barely touching my canvas, and I'm just kind of pulling away right from under that line, right on over. Some of them even go past this line here if you want to, okay? So right up in here in this corner, I'm gonna draw a similar line. These lines run right there, okay? Kind of angling those. Right about where my first lash ends, right in here, I guess it's about like this whole circle, it's about halfway, okay? I'm gonna really pull in a mark where my eye is. So what I did is I just pressed my brush down and I swooped it over, applying less and less pressure as I went out, so I get that swooping motion, okay? Underneath that, I'm gonna draw one more line that comes over and around and up to the middle here, and give it one line kind of joining it. And there is your eye. So you're just gonna wanna take a look at it. So for me, I might wanna make my lashes just a little bit darker. So I'm just gonna put another little thin layer there, just a little bit, okay? Make her a little sassier, like a sassy cow, okay? I might make this part in here just a little bit darker, just add one more layer, hit a little accent there, a little accent there, okay? Okay, I'll get you real close so you can see. You see how you can see the black kind of coming through a little bit? It is very sketchy. Okay. All right. So I still have white on my brush, but what I want you to do is I want you to kind of take it and put your paper towel down and just kind of wipe off some of that white paint like this. So you just have a very little bit left, okay? Just a very little bit. And what now we're gonna do is, this is just gonna kind of let you get in without having too much paint. You can kind of sweep in here very lightly, like almost like chalk. Just some very easy, quick kind of sweeping motions that just kind of allow you to see there's a little bit of muscle structure under the eye. Now, if you feel like you did this too dark, that's okay, let it be. And then when we start working with our black paint again, you can just run a thin layer of sketchy black lines over that and it will push that back. Okay, so I'll show you the difference. It's very predominant on my cow here, but it is not so much on my cow here. Okay, you see the difference? But I don't know if you can still see it on this cow. Maybe you can't, there, kind of, the lighting is kind of funky, but you can kind of see it. You see what I'm talking about right there? Okay, so I took black later and I kind of muted them out just a little bit. So see how they are right now? Okay, so that's the difference. Okay, but this will evolve. Just kind of wanted to get them in just so I had something to, okay. Okay, okay, so I still have white paint on my brush. I'm gonna get a little more. Now I'm gonna start working on our nose. Okay, so I'm gonna come up at the top here and I'm just gonna start painting nice, thick white paint up here. This whole white area. I know it feels silly, but even paint your edge. Just a good habit to get into. And I am doing nice, even brush strokes up and down. Okay. Kind of get rid of any gobs you might have. Okay, so let's see here. I might come in a little more with my black, maybe not. All right, so it's kind of hard to tell. We're gonna kind of have to, I'm not going up to my black line right now yet. I have to decide if I need to bring my black line over or not still, and you will have to do the same. So in order for us to figure that out, what we need to do is we need to put in the nose. Okay, so this mark that you have right here on the end of your eye, that's gonna be where we're gonna kind of draw an imaginary line down, okay? And about there is about where the top of our nose is aligned with. And then the cross is like, I guess, let's see, our face kind of pivots in right about here. So come down about an inch. So you know where you have that mark, I can show it better here. You can see where our cow, we drew our straight line and then we angled. Okay, this is where my angle is. I'd come down about half an inch or so, about where that angle is. Now, you're gonna know that's the right place because your nose is pretty big, right? That's that's about 2 inches roughly, I don't know, 2.5 inches. And your lip down here is only about half an inch. Okay, so that's kind of how you can gauge some of this. So if it's easier for you to kind of work up, which we might do, I'll kind of draw a line down here and say, okay, this is about the bottom of my nose, okay? And I'm gonna kind of come about halfway through this thick black line here, and I'm just sketching here. I'm gonna circle upward. Okay, but I want to hit this line. So I'm gonna come down to about here. So that's really my angle. Okay, and in. That was hard to explain. I hope you guys got that okay. So I'm gonna go ahead and just fill this area in white because we are gonna have to layer up here. You can see your black paint coming through, I'm sure. Okay. So let's see, I do think I'm going to have to bring in my black paint a little bit more here. So I'll show you what I mean by that. I'm gonna get all the white off of my brush. I'm gonna switch back over to black. And I'm gonna bring in my nose. So I'll show you. Here. So this line right in here. So I'm gonna bring this in. Gonna add more black paint here. So it's just a game of push and pull, figuring out what we need to do for our proportions. I'm gonna come down farther than I need to so that I can redraw my cow shape nose better, okay? So I'm gonna make him look really awkward at first. And while I have this black, I'm just gonna kind of sweep it very lightly over my white marks here. And it's just gonna start to kind of mute them a little bit, okay? Just a little bit. Okay, see how that worked? So they're there, but they're not really there, right? So my nose looks kind of weird, kind of blocky. And I'm gonna wash my brush. I gotta get that water off real quick. Okay. So you might be in this awkward stage with me where part of your nose is kind of chopped off and or just kind of working around some of these areas. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna draw in the black part of our nose, and then we can fill in this white part again. You can see black here and you can see black around here. And I need to curve this out a little bit. I'm sure y'all are gonna need to do that as well. So we're just gonna go ahead and put in this black part of our nose, okay? So I have a little bit of black on my brush. I'm still using this nice big brush. And it's gonna be a rounded shape. And I'm trying to find like my line here. So this line that we have for our black that comes down, where you have about an inch or so over here, right? That's gonna be right about where the blackest part of our nostril is gonna be. So I'm gonna come down and I'm gonna swoop like so. Kind of draw like a bee. Now this is gonna feel kind of weird because this next part, because we don't have our white outer part of our nose defined, okay? But follow me here. I'm gonna come from the top of my nostril, okay? And I'm gonna round, or I'm gonna make a round shape kind of coming down to the bottom of that line that we drew down here. And I'm gonna go straight across. So This is gonna feel kind of funny too, because this is nice and solid black, and we're about to fill this whole area kind of in black. But it's important that you drew this down and curved around, so you can still, if you look closely, you can see your brush strokes and that mark that you made, right? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my brush and I'm gonna lightly come around, and it's kind of gonna just make that disappear, but that's okay. We're gonna bring it back. I'm gonna fill this in black, and I'm gonna go straight across the bottom here. Okay, everything from here up is gonna be gray. Everything from here down is gonna be pretty dark. So I'm gonna go ahead and fill this in down here. All the way down. You want a nice straight line down here. Don't forget to wrap around. Okay. So that's where we're at. We have a super weird shape, right? Now, while I still have black on my brush, I'm just gonna dab some of that off onto my paper towel, just a little bit, okay? And I have a point on my brush, okay? I'm gonna go and I'm gonna grab a little bit of white. So I wiped off the black, so I still have black on my brush, but I got most of the gunk off, right? And I have a little bit of white now. And I'm gonna take that white and I'm gonna come right over to my nostril and I'm gonna redraw that line, and it's gonna turn to gray, right? So I'm gonna come down and around. And I'm gonna redefine that line, okay? I'm gonna grab just a little bit more white because I do want a nice white line down here at the bottom, and I'm just gonna pull that line out just a little bit more. And I might have to come back later and get that real good. Okay, see how I pulled that out? And now while my paint is still wet, I have a little bit of white on my brush. I still have black on my brush. I'm gonna smear this into gray. Okay, smear this gray up a little bit. And it's okay if you go too far, not a big deal. We're gonna smear it again with some white. I'm just gonna get some gray in here. Okay. Like so. Okay. I'm gonna wipe that white off. I know this is kind of getting weird, but trust me, I'm gonna grab a little bit of black now. And I'm gonna come from the bottom here and I'm gonna be sketchy. And I'm gonna work my way up through some of this gray, adding a little more black. Okay, kind of bring some of that white down in there. Then I'm gonna do the same thing with some white. I really just want a game, it's like a game of push and pull, right? I'm gonna press the white down, get some really nice marks there. Okay, kind of give it a nice fading ombre effect down into that nose. Okay. If you remember, you want to stretch that around to the side too, okay? I'm going to give you guys a minute to work on that. I'll hold that close for you to see. So notice too, this line out here is still not correct, okay? It's just there right now, but we're just working on this area right now, okay? And I'll show you too, this is where we're at and this is where we're going. And you can see the two different personalities are starting to emerge. I'm gonna wash my brush. So when you're ready, go ahead and wash your brush. We're gonna work some white. We're gonna work the length of our nose coming down on the side of the face, and we're gonna pull out this, this shape kind of around the nose and the lip a little bit more, okay? So I'll give you guys a minute to wash your brushes. Take a couple deep breaths. Just, I think the eye is one of the hardest parts, and maybe a little bit on this nose, but once we have this, the rest is a piece of cake. I'm gonna scroll across the top and check on everybody. So if you have a question or if you need help with proportions or anything like that, just let me know. Show me your painting and I'm happy to tell you what you can do if you're having an issue with the shape of your eye or the length of your nose or anything like that, okay? Looks like everybody's doing good. Nobody looks upset. That's great. Savannah, yes. You're still muted.
Here we are.
There you are.
So we had a little trouble with the proportion on the nose over here.
Okay.
And then I tried to fix it with the white, but the black was still wet. Yeah.
Yeah. So your nose actually looks really great. So what you're going to need to do is the next step that I'm going to teach is going to be coming down the side of our nose to get in those hairs. And then we're going to pull this shape out and around more. Okay. Which will define your shape better. Okay. And then the bottom underneath the nose is going to be the lip area. And we'll just draw in that little line and everything will come the way it needs to be. It'll be just fine. Okay.
Okay. So that was my mom's.
Okay.
Is this one going to work?
Yeah, this is great. Totally
Okay.
great. Yep, it's going to be just fine. Yeah, I think everybody across the board should have a funky nose shape right now. It should not, should not make sense. Okay, Marcy Tasha.
Do our noses look okay?
Your noses look great, you guys. Your
Okay.
eyes look
I feel like my nose is giant, but
well, let me tell you too, the nose is giant because the angle of this cow is coming at you. The closest thing to us is the nose, so it should be giant. But we're gonna do giant flowers, and you don't have them on your canvas right now, and so it probably looks really unproportionate. So once we do our giant flowers, it's really big when you get up.
okay.
Balance. Okay.
Okay. Thanks.
You're welcome. You guys are doing great. Okay. And anybody else? Okay. Cool. Okay. Everybody else looks fine. Okay. All right, you guys. So let's let me get back over here. Okay, so let's keep going. So I have a clean brush, okay? I'm gonna jump right into my white paint, okay? And I'm just gonna cover up, I have a little area up here, I'm just gonna cover up a little bit of, okay, just kind of come down there. Okay, so kind of like we did before when we had those little wispy marks right here. Remember, you just had a little bit of paint on your brush. I have too much on my brush because I just got some fresh paint. So I'm going to come over to my paper towel and I'm just going to wipe some of it off. Okay, you can always get more, but it's better to have too little when you do something like this because you don't want these marks to be bold. Okay, so I'm going to show you here. We're going to come down the side of our nose here. And we're just going to draw in those little hairs, okay? So for some of you, you might want to even bring your white line over a little bit more. Some of you may not. It just is going to kind of depend, okay? So I'm going to start right about my eye area, and I'm just going to be very light and kind of quick like this, right? I'm just going to be very wispy. I'm barely touching the canvas, okay? So I'm just going to kind of wisp over, okay? Coming down, my angle is down, okay? And so once I have those wispy lines, I do not like that I have a very straight white line and then these wispies coming out of it. So I'm gonna kind of make that a little bit fuzzier by going in with some thicker paint here and just kind of bringing in just a thicker layer, almost like another layer of wispies, but not quite. Just gonna kind of break that line up just a little bit here. And you might see the black coming through. And if that's the case for you, which it is for me, I'm gonna have to come through with another layer and work that a little bit more, okay? I'm not too worried about up here. It does look a little awkward, but I mean, whatever, it's gonna be fine. There's gonna be some leaves that come down right in here, and you can strategically put a flower here or whatever. So that area is gonna be just fine, okay? So now that we're kind of coming down a little bit, you may not be done with your wispies, but we've traveled down here. We're gonna shape out our nose, okay? So I'm gonna come down, and I want a good space here. I want like at least a ½ inch above my nostril. So I'm gonna come over and down. So this whole area should be white, okay? So that's about, what, I don't know, ½ inch or so above my nostril, okay? So white, and I'm gonna come out and down, and I'm gonna angle slightly down and around. Now I want this space between the black part of my nose and the black part of my body to be the same distance that it is here to here. So whatever this distance is, you want it to be consistent all the way down. Okay, sorry, I got to look at it a little bit from a different angle here. Okay, so we're gonna paint that, and you're gonna want to paint that in a relatively thin layer, you know, as thin as you can get, because we're gonna want that to dry. Because I don't know if you can see on mine, but I can see my black coming through, and I'm gonna want to cover that up a little bit, okay? I'm gonna look at it next to this one for a second. Okay, so when I look at it, my line here, it comes out it's too close to a right angle. It's not a right angle, but you see how it comes down and over? I want it to be more like this, where it just kind of comes up ever so slightly. Okay, that feels a little bit better to me. And then I'm gonna bring in some of my wispies down in here, kind of fuzz, make it really kind of fuzzy down there. Okay, so that just feels a little bit better. Okay. So if you're able to, you can go back in with another layer. You just need your paint to be tacky. Doesn't need to be totally dry, but you see mine is not even tacky. So I went a little bit too soon. You can tell if your paint is not sticking. So if you're trying to paint another layer and you're just kind of moving the paint around, that's, your paint is obviously not dry. So I get a little impatient and I try to speed things up a little bit, but I need to wait. So what I'm gonna do while I'm waiting is I'm gonna get the white off of my brush for the most part. Get the water off of my brush for the most part. I'm gonna get a little bit of black here, and I'm gonna shape out the bottom of my nose. So what I want down here is I actually want to create this little line coming from the bottom that kind of just comes down right here and over. Okay, and over here. And this is going to be the bottom of my nose. And it's kind of aligned with the bottom of my white. So my white line, if it were to travel all the way across, would be right there. So my black needs to come down that far. Ooh, that is tricky to do holding up this canvas. Man, oh man. Okay. So something kind of like that, okay? Now I still have black on my brush. I'm just gonna dab a little bit of it off. So I have a little bit on my brush, and I'm gonna go into white. And when I start painting, it's gonna create more of a gray. I'm gonna draw my mouth And so I'm gonna angle downward here and then over. I don't know if you can see that line very well from where you are. I'm gonna make it a little bit darker so that you can see it better. So I'm gonna grab a little more black. You don't want it to be super dark, you just want it to be a nice gray, but for the sake of you being able to see what I'm doing, I'm gonna make it darker than it should be, and I'll make it lighter later, okay?
Where you're painting right now, are we supposed to have a white layer underneath that?
I don't.
Okay.
I don't, but you're more than welcome to. I mean, I just see, so what's gonna happen is I'm gonna take my brush, I'm gonna get that black off. And because it's so dark and I want it to be kind of a little bit more fuzzy, I'm gonna take some white paint and I'm kind of gonna fuzz this area. So it just, I get paint down there anyway. So it kind of just happens. Okay, so you will just inevitably just end up with paint there. Okay. And let's see, in the original painting, I have a little bit of paint down there, kind of like I do here, but feel free, fill that in with white. That would make sense, you know? If you can definitely tell the difference between your canvas and when you have paint on it, that's good craftsmanship, so do that. I'm just gonna shape this out a little bit. Mine is a little bit funky. You want this line down here to be angled. Okay. There we go. So, you know, every cow's nose or snout is different. So I'll show you the difference between mine, and you can see yours probably falls somewhere in here. Okay, one of mine is rounder. One of mine has more angles. This one feels more angular, right? And this one just feels rounder, but it still reads cow, right? So if you're having a hard time seeing cow in your painting, don't worry. What might need to happen is that you might just need to get a little bit of distance from your painting. So hold it out or put it across the room and take a look at it. Get some space from it. It's hard to see what you're painting when you're sitting right up on top of it. Your perspective needs to change. You need to get distance, and then your lines will fall into place, or they won't, and you'll be able to see what you need to do to fix it. But when you're sitting right up on top of it, it is very hard to see. Another thing you could do is take your phone and take a picture of your painting. Not at an angle, you need to take it either straight on or straight down, but take a picture of it and look at the picture. For some reason, it's just different when you're looking at it. You can see what you need to do to fix it, whether your eye is off, your ear, your nose, whatever it is, you'll be able to see it through a different way, okay? So take a look and see if there's anything that you need to do. Now is going to be a great time for us to take a break. It is about 8:10, so we're going to take a 5-minute break, and this is going to just kind of allow you to work on your cow's face a little bit more. If you need to run to the restroom, get a drink, snack, you know, whatever it is that you need to do. So I'm gonna put the paintings up for you to see them so you can take a look at them. And if anybody has any questions, you can ask me real quick before our break. Otherwise, I'll check back on you guys in about 5 minutes or so, okay? You can also send me a message through Messenger, whatever you need to do, okay? So here we go. Here is our painting that we're painting from tonight. Let me get that kind of set up for you. And let me go grab an easel for my other one, and I'll get that set up for you as well too, okay? So you can take a look at where we are and where we're going, okay? All right, you guys. Does anybody have any questions about their cow face yet? How it's going? Is it going okay? Okay, cool. Oh, Amy, cute. Super cute cow. Yeah, very nice. All right. Well, cool. Well, if you guys are okay with it, let's start working on our flowers. Oh, so cute. So cute. All of these faces have really turned out wonderfully. You guys did a great job. Awesome. Awesome. I love seeing them. Oh, cute, Stephanie. Super cute. You guys, everybody's eye turned out so good. Oh, hey, Terrence group. I saw that. Yay. Awesome, you guys. Super cool. Super cool. Okay. Let me look at this painting for a minute. I think everybody's okay. Okay. Nobody got kicked out of the group yet too, so we're doing good tonight. Awesome. All right, so I love teaching flowers. Flowers are super fun. I think if you've enjoyed painting this cow so far, it's been kind of free. I think you're really gonna like painting these flowers. They're all over the place, and honestly, I don't think you can paint a flower wrong. That's kind of the beauty of painting them, is that they're from nature, they're organic, they're just, to me, they're just really easy. They're really forgiving. So I hope that you find these relatively forgiving also. So I'm gonna keep using our largest brush. I love this brush. I think it's really versatile. I like applying really thick brush strokes. That's just my style. I like layering paint. And this brush just really allows you to do that. But if you are, if you're a neater, tighter person, you might enjoy using the next size down. I believe it's a size 5. In which case, what's going to happen when you start working on the flowers is you're actually going to be drawing the flowers with actual shapes, okay, versus and lines, versus allowing the large brush to create the shape and the line for you by the amount of pressure that you apply. Okay, so the difference is like my large brush, I love it so much that I can get a lot of paint on this brush and just press it to the canvas and it will create a petal shape for me, versus using my smaller brush, okay, I can get paint on it, but I will have to draw the shape of the petal and then fill it in. Okay, so that's the main difference here. So decide what you want to do. If you're more of a drawer, okay, you have more control. With a smaller brush, you can draw your shapes and fill them in. Or the way I'm going to teach it is with a large brush, where you're just kind of going for it. You're going to have a lot of paint and you're just going to press down and you're going to hope for the best. Okay, so that's the way I like to do it. Take chances and mix colors and all that kind of stuff. Okay, so that's the way I'm going to teach it. We're going to use our smaller brush for our leaves. And I did include a detail brush in your kits in case you wanted to draw in any more details inside your flowers. I didn't really when I'm looking at it, but I know some people like to draw little dots inside of their flowers or would like to draw more details in your flowers that go beyond this class. So if you're going to stay up all night and work on this painting and you want to get really detailed with your flowers, you can use your detail brush to draw like the veins that go through the leaves and all of the details that can go through flowers, okay? But I'm not going to teach that part. That's just for you to play with, okay? So here we go. I hope by now you've decided what color you want your flowers to be. I'm going to teach the color that I have painted already, but you can definitely change this up however you want. So the flowers that I'm teaching are more of a, they're more pink. They've got lots of like peaches in them. So I mix a lot of red and yellow with white together. But if you have an ultimate paint kit, you've got purple, you've got blue, you can do purple flowers, you can do anything you want, okay? So I'm gonna teach how I do it, and then you can just apply it to the colors that you want to use, okay? All right, so I've got a clean brush, okay? No water on the metal part at all. Let me stare at this for a second and decide where we're gonna start. I think I know, I just wanna make sure. Okay, so I typically like to mix my flower color I like to make a peachy color to start. So the way we do that is I grab a little bit of red and I bring it over to my yellow. They should be maybe side by side. And I just start kind of mixing it around like so. Red is super powerful. So I'm gonna wanna grab a huge gob of white and bring it over. And just start mixing. Now notice when I'm mixing, I am mixing in a small area. I'm not swirling it around super big. What happens if you swirl around super big is you end up with a lot of paint that just dries on the palette because it's been spread out so much. So I'm mixing in a nice small area here, okay? That way all my paint is really gobbed together in a nice pile, and it won't dry out quick. Another thing that I like to do when I'm mixing is I like to leave my paint marbled. And what that means is that I don't have a solid color here. I can still see red, I can see some stripies of white and some yellow. Some of it's a little bit more orangey, some of it's a little bit pinker. Okay, I like to have a lot of different colors within my color, okay? That's just the way I do it, but you can do it however you want. And the other goal here tonight is to be mixing colors that you enjoy looking at. So if you don't enjoy this color, make a different color, okay? This is gonna be your painting, so make it something that you really enjoy looking at with colors that you really enjoy looking at, okay? Okay. So this is gonna be just the base color for one of our first flowers. And honestly, by the time we're done painting, we may not even see this color much. So you just wanna start with something, okay? Just pick a color and we're just gonna start, and you'll kind of see as we go here how it evolves, okay? So we're gonna start with our biggest flower, which is this one right up here, okay? And it looks like it's just folding outward and just opening up, okay? So we're gonna do the back side of that flower first, and then we're gonna let that dry, and then we're gonna do the front side of that flower, okay? So it's gonna look a little awkward for a while, but that's gonna be just fine, okay? So here we are. I'm gonna pull you guys in a little bit. Okay, hey cow. All right, so this flower is gonna rest right at the top of the head, and it's gonna swoop down right next to this ear. Okay, so it's gonna take up a lot of space, like really, really, really big here, okay? So don't be afraid to paint big. I think the bigger your flowers are, the more whimsical your painting is. And this is not real life, obviously. Cows don't wear flower crowns. So you can be as crazy and as whimsical as you want to be with this, okay? There's no judgment here. So paint big, okay? So here's how we're gonna kind of map out where our flower is gonna go first, okay? I'm gonna take my brush. I have a lot of paint on my brush here. I'm gonna start, I know that my flower is gonna come up to the top of my canvas, and I know that it's gonna kind of sweep down around the top of my head. So I'm just gonna, everybody's gonna have a different line here, so I can't tell you where exactly to put this line, but I'm gonna just kind of, I like to give myself just a starting point here. I'm gonna bring my brush, and I'm gonna bring it right up by my ear, and I'm gonna give myself my first flower petal that kind of sweeps in here, okay? I'm gonna grab some more paint. I'm gonna come up, this is gonna be the middle of my flower. My middle flower is gonna be right here, okay? And then the other side of my flower is gonna be over here. So you have something kind of like this, okay? Now I'm gonna take my brush, and it makes a petal shape wonderfully. So I'm gonna swoop in to the side here. And then I'm gonna come to the side of it again and swoop in. And then again, and every time I'm coming out just a little bit and a little bit lower, right? I'm coming down just a little bit. Okay, and that one just kind of gets pushed to the side for a moment, and that's fine. But you see how I'm just pressing my brush down and it is creating that petal shape for me. I'm not drawing anything. My brush is doing all of the work. It's great. Okay, I'm gonna come in here too and just give one. Okay, I'm gonna come around to the side here and I'm gonna do the same thing. Okay. And it's just gonna be very blobby right now, right? This shape, just kind of blobby. It's not symmetrical. It's very organic. Okay. So I have a lot of paint on my brush, so I'm just gonna kind of roll my paintbrush on my palette and just kind of get some of that paint off, or even just wipe it on your paper towel a little bit. And I'm just gonna grab some white. So I haven't cleaned my brush, but now I have a little bit of white on my already very pink, dirty brush, okay? Now I'm just gonna come in and I'm gonna go over all of those shapes again, just a little bit, and pull in some white. See what happens as I keep going? I just get some really pretty streaks. You see those streaks? Some of them will be darker than others, but then just go back and kind of pull them in. Okay, so I just wanted to create a layer of some streaks here. Get that for you so you can kind of see. Okay, now I'm going to teach this part kind of quick because I think that it's important that we paint wet paint on wet paint, okay? So next I'm going to go just into my pure red. I'm not going to mix anything into it. I have not washed my brush or wiped off my brush. I'm just going to jump into my pure red. So pure red on my paintbrush here. And I'm just going to be very loose, but I'm going to kind of just dab in a little bit of this red here and there. So maybe some here. I'm going to do a little bit over here. Maybe right in here and here. So every time I put in this color, I'm using a different amount of pressure. So I'm pressing lightly in some areas like that. That's very light and I'm kind of picking up. Whereas here I'm pressing hard and pulling down, okay? So there's a lot of different amounts of pressure that I'm applying. And that's allowing me to get a lot of different great shapes and variations within my flower, okay? I'm gonna wipe off that red on my paper towel. And I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna grab more white. So this is a game, you see, it's a game of push and pull and layers. Now I'm gonna bring in some nice bold white around over here and on the sides over here, okay? I'm gonna pull in another petal over here. I don't know if you need to or not, but I just feel like I want that to be a little bit more full over there. I'm gonna pull in a little bit of red, okay? Kind of like, just like that, okay? I'm gonna wipe my brush. Now I'm gonna grab a little bit of white here and I'm gonna come towards the middle of my flower, okay? And right in this area, I'm gonna start to draw in the center of the flower, okay? So I'm gonna pull in some, like a parentheses shape. So it's gonna curve in a little bit and it's gonna curve in a little bit here. And inevitably, you're gonna pick up other colors. Okay, so now I'm getting a little bit pinker. But I just wanted to make an area in the center. And this is gonna look kind of weird for a while. It just kind of has some smaller little shapes in there, okay? I'm even gonna pull in a little bit of gray. So if you don't have black on your palette, just dip your brush into your black little container and pull out a little bit of black to just make a little bit of gray. And I'm just gonna pull in a little bit of gray here. Okay, it's just gonna kind of unify our painting because we have a lot of black. I'm just gonna pull in a little bit of gray down here towards the bottom, okay? And you can be as choppy or as thoughtful as you want, okay? Every flower is gonna come out different. And that's the cool thing about flowers. Okay. So this flower is not done, but we're gonna leave it alone for a little while. We need it to dry, okay? So I'm gonna just, I don't have a lot of black on my brush or gray, so I'm just gonna leave my brush the way it is, but if you feel like you need to wash your brush, by all means, wash your brush. But the next thing we're gonna do is mix just a slightly different color. So we had this, I call this like a flamingo pink. I just want to get a different pink. So to do that, I'm just gonna pull out a little bit of red here and grab some white. And I'm just gonna mix white and red together. Do you see the difference in these pinks? This one is definitely a lot pinker, and this one is a lot more orange, right? I want it to be a little bit lighter. The reason why I want them to be so different is because I'm layering these flowers on top of each other, and I really want them to pop against each other. I want them to look very different because we're doing similar brush strokes, but our shapes are going to be different, but we really need our color to be different so that they really have wonderful contrast, so that they can really read as something different from far away. Okay, so whatever you do, whether it's a color that I'm asking you to mix or not, mix a color that is very different. Okay. Okay, so I mixed a different pink here. Now I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna do a flower right in this area. Okay, now this is kind of a blob, so watch how I blob this, okay? I'm gonna kind of draw like a circular type blob, and I'm gonna come right onto my ear, and I'm gonna come right over my eye. Okay, so I'm just gonna draw this shape first. Okay, so you could just draw a circle first if you wanted to, but you really want it to be very blobby. So I'm gonna come around my sides here with my brush and kind of just create a wavy line, a blobby wavy line, and fill it in. Okay. And I have a lot of paint. This is really gobbed on there. I know you can't see it from where you are, but it is gobby. The important thing with this flower is we're gonna be drawing it as if it's kind of angled this way, okay? And I'm gonna show you how we're gonna do that. So I am gonna teach it kind of quick because it is important to paint with wet paint, on wet paint, okay? That's gonna really help us get some really beautiful color. So the important thing too with this flower is that this line right here, this one out here, is the waviest. It's the silliest. It's just crazy, okay? And then this line right back in here, this side, can be really nice and wavy too. Okay, so just make sure that it's nice and wavy, okay? I'm gonna come in here and I'm gonna grab some white on my brush, and I'm gonna lay this white in. Now watch how I do this. I don't know how to describe this very well with my words, so watch what I do, okay? I'm gonna try. I'm gonna take my brush and I'm gonna press it down with that white paint, and it's just gonna create some marks here. I just want white marks on this side of my flower because this side of my flower is sort of opening to the light here. I'm gonna do one white mark kind of up here that kind of pulls around just a little bit, right? But I have a lot of really pretty little white marks right in here. Okay, I still have pink that comes along the back here, and I have a lot of pink up here, but I have a lot of white right there, okay, if that makes sense. I'm just taking my paintbrush and I'm just pressing it really and pulling, okay? While that paint is still wet, I just wiped off the white off of my paper towel and I grabbed just a little bit of red, and I'm gonna dot this red right in this little area, right towards where the center of my flower might be. Do you kind of see that a little bit? Just a little bit of red, okay? I'm gonna wipe that off, and I'm just gonna pick up pure yellow, and I'm gonna roll that yellow into the center of my flower. And I'm not making a circle. I'm making more of like an oval kind of shape here. And it's kind of grabbing the red a little bit and pulling it in, and it's kind of just, you know, kind of smearing it, making a mess. And what really sets this flower's angle off is I'm gonna grab a little bit of red, but a little bit of that original pink kind of together, just to make a little bit of a darker line. And I'm gonna make a petal. I'm gonna press down here and pull my my brush around. Okay, So I just have all kinds of colors and shapes, and these white marks should make your flower look like it's kind of folding this way a little bit, okay? We want it to really kind of fold around. It's really coming at us this way, okay? Sometimes people like to make their yellow really bold, and some like to make it a little bit lighter. So you can add a little bit of white to that if you want to. But honestly, any way that your flower is kind of coming out, I'm sure is going to be great. It just needs to be really blobby. Honestly, just really blobby. And I can show you. Let me show you the difference between this flower that I just painted and the one on the original painting, okay? So you can kind of get the idea for what's happening. So it's this guy right here. Okay. And we can come back, or you can come back to any of your flowers too after I've taught them all and rework them if you feel like you need to, okay? Okay, so we're gonna keep on going. I haven't really washed my brush. I kind of just stuck it in the water real quick and swirled it, but then I just wiped it on my paper towel. So I still have paint on my brush, but not a lot, so it's not a big deal. We're gonna jump right into another color here. So we're gonna go to the next flower over. But honestly, before we do that, we should revisit this one up here. Mine it's not completely dry, but it is very tacky. Okay, so that's really the ticket. You just need your paint to be kind of tacky. So we need to paint in this front layer of our flower next before we can paint our next flower because they're layered on top of each other, okay? So I'm gonna go back to that original flamingo pink color that I have. Okay, and I'm gonna get that on my brush. And watch how I do this, and then, so I'm gonna be painting right on top of this, and it's kind of hard to see at first, okay? So this is the middle of my flower, and I wanna cover up half of it because my flower is cupping, okay? So I'm gonna paint right on top of it, and I'm gonna come down, and I'm gonna come all the way over here, okay? I'm gonna do that over here. And I don't wanna paint over this flower. I wanna somehow stop and kind of tuck right behind it. Now, if you can't see this very well, that's okay. Watch what happens. I'm gonna take some of my pure red. I'm gonna put my pure red right on top of that and pull down. So you can really see it now. Okay, you see how that's really just it's like in front of my flower, right? That's the front part of my flower. I'm gonna add one more petal out here. You don't have to, but I just want the space between my ear and my leaf to kind of be filled in a little bit differently, a little better, okay? Now there's gonna be a flower that's gonna come in right here. Okay, so right in here. So this is the part that really just needs to be developed nicely. I'm gonna come in with a little bit of paint here too. Lighten that up a little bit, okay? Okay. All right, so our next flower is gonna be yet a different color, okay? So we're gonna mix more of a peachy color. So I am gonna just get that red off my brush, kind of wipe it down a little bit. Okay, so it's very yellow. It's a yellowy peach. So I'm gonna just reactivate my yellow over here. I'm gonna grab some white, bring it over, grab a little dot of red, bring it over and kind of just see what happens here. Okay, it's a little bit too yellowy for me. I'm gonna add a little bit of more white and red. Okay, that's getting pretty. Okay, that'll work for me. So when you're looking at your palette, make sure, so this was our original color, this was the next flower, and this was the next flower. They're all right next to each other, and they're very different, okay? That's your goal. You want 3 very different colors. Okay, so to make this one, I had a lot of yellow, I had a little bit of red, and a lot of white. Okay. And I have a lot of it on my brush. Okay. Okay. So here we go. So this flower too is angled this way. Okay, so I'm gonna start just by kind of fleshing out where my flower is gonna be. So I'm gonna be kind of quick with these brush strokes, okay? I'm gonna kind of start just kind of pulling in a little bit here. I'm gonna be very quick with these. And it kind of comes tucked kind of behind this one a little bit. So I'm gonna come down here. So this is kind of the center, how my center of my flower is kind of evolving here, okay? I'm gonna have another flower that's gonna come in right here. So I'm not too worried about it, but just for the sake of the painting, I am gonna kind of come out this way a little bit, just because our petal shapes might come a little bit differently. So I have a weird shape like that, right? Now I'm just gonna grab some plain white. I haven't cleaned my brush, but I'm just gonna grab some plain white and I'm gonna come into the center. I'm gonna pull like halfway down into the center, just like so. Kind of just smear that white in there a little bit. And then I'm gonna be really crazy out to the side here with my white. I want it to kind of pull in like so. I know that doesn't make a lot of sense, but it will in a minute, okay? Since I have white on my brush, I'm gonna make a little gray. Need a little gray again. It's a darker gray than before. And I'm gonna take a little bit of dark gray and I'm gonna kind of press it into the center of this flower. I need it to be darker. So I'm just pressing, I'm just tapping my paintbrush against the canvas here. Okay, I'm gonna get that gray off and I'm gonna go back with my peach and my white and just add a little more here, a little more peach, especially down here on the cow's forehead because I can see the cows, the black kind of coming through and I want to cover that up as best I can. Okay, I'm gonna pick up some white. So right in here, this side, the right side for me, I'm gonna pull my brush to the side and it's like the petals are almost pulling out on top of that white part. They're folding upward. Okay. Okay. So we're gonna jump back to the color that you used for this flower. So it was the second pink that you mixed. And I don't have much of that on my palette. That was this one right here. So I'm gonna mix a little bit more of it. And that was just red and white. So I'm just gonna mix some more red and white here. That's easy. Okay, once again, you can leave it marbled. It doesn't have to be a solid color. Okay, this last flower is easy. It's gonna be this one right here. It's big, takes up a lot of space. okay? And then we'll come back and we'll fill in this space back here. Okay, so don't worry about this right now. And then we'll come in and we'll do these guys too. But right now we're just filling in this space, okay? All right. So the center of my flower is gonna be roughly right about here. So I just like to draw like a little circle to show, okay, that's the center of my flower on the side, okay? So I'm gonna come out and I'm gonna come into like a, almost like a squared petal shape. So I'm coming from the center, I'm gonna come out and around. Out and around. Okay. And see, this one's a little bit bigger than these, so I'm gonna make these a little bit bigger. But be careful with that. You can grow them a little bit too big. Okay. I'm just gonna fill those in. And see how I'm using my brush and I'm just pressing really hard and I'm getting nice, thick, bold lines. Don't forget to wrap around. So I'm gonna pretend that my flower wraps around to the sides here and I'm gonna paint the sides. It's super awkward. Weird angle to get at, okay. So while your paint's still wet, I'm just gonna grab a little bit of white and I'm gonna come around the edges of my flowers here, kind of define them a little bit. See how that white is just resting on the surface, but it's outlining. Okay, now I'm just gonna, I haven't wiped off my brush or anything. I'm just gonna grab some red. And I already have, you know, a little bit of white on my brush. So naturally, this is just gonna make like a pink. I'm gonna come to the center of my flower, not the very center, but towards the end, the inner part of my petal. And I'm just gonna pull out some lines, some like rays almost. Okay, being very wispy, being very light with my brush. You can wrap around the sides, don't forget that. Okay. And then I'm gonna grab that, that color that we used here for this flower, that orangey peach color. And I'm just gonna put a little bit of that right in towards the center, like so. And I'm just pressing very lightly so that the color takes to the canvas. So we're painting wet paint on wet paint. It's giving it a little bit of dimension. And then the center of my flower is just like a, I don't know, it's an orangey color. So I'm almost gonna grab like my flamingo pink and mix a little bit more yellow into it and see what happens. Yeah, that works. So a very yellowy flamingo pink. Okay, so something like that. And I'm not painting a circle in the center, I'm just painting like a mush. And I feel like on mine, it's just, I need a little bit of lightness here. So I'm actually gonna grab a little bit of white to lighten mine up. You might feel the same, I'm not sure, but I'm gonna pull in a little bit of lightness here, a little bit of a light yellow kind of around there, okay? Everybody might feel differently. So this background area, you can decide if you want to fill it in or not. I'm going to, because it feels like the crown, the flower crown going across the cow, you know, is nice and full all the way. We can't see what's going on over here, right? So I feel like there's gonna be more flowers back here, okay? So this is, all you're gonna do is I've just kind of wiped off my brush. I'm gonna go back to the colors that I used up here, okay? So it's the pinks and the reds and a little bit of white and, you know, I have a little bit of all of that on my brush, and I'm just gonna kind of fill in this space. I'm just using the very tip of my brush right now, okay, coming in, and I'm gonna like just kind of do some shapes like this. I'm not really thinking, I'm just doing different brush strokes. I'm being mindful of the flowers that already exist. Okay, I don't want to cover them. I'm just kind of going behind here. I'm gonna grab some lighter pinks. I'm just creating some movement, some shape, just to fill it in. As if another flower is doing something over here. Okay. And if you mess up the edge of your other flower, that's okay. I'm going to come in with some white and just redefine it. Okay. There we go. Yeah, something like that. I might even pull in some darker back here. Okay. Super cool, guys. We're almost done. We've got 2 more steps. I'm gonna give you a moment here just to kind of finish that up, but we're gonna do our leaves next, and then we're just gonna do like the kind of speckly flowers that go out to the side. I'm just fixing this real quick. Mine's kind of funky. And you did it. You did it. Okay. So I'm gonna put that brush in the water, and I'm gonna pick up my next size down. So this is a size 5, but you can also use your detail brush if you want to. I'll give you guys all a moment to kind of get there. So these leaves that we're gonna do, I feel like they really just make the whole painting look really whimsical and really fun and playful. You can see the leaves, they just kind of come down right by the eye, out here into this space, over the ear, and up in here as well, and over here. So you can be strategic with your leaves. If there's an area that you don't love on your painting, you can cover it with a leaf or something, or add another flower, you know, whatever you feel like you want to do. Okay. I will say these leaves, I think I did 2 layers on these, so we'll do them first, and you'll see that the paint is very transparent, especially this green. It just is transparent. So we'll layer with it, and then we'll layer again. I'm just gonna grab a little bit of white and mix it with my green. Not to make a super light green, but just it makes this green a little bit more opaque, believe it or not, when you mix white with it. So just gonna grab a little white to mix with my green, kind of get that going. Wipe my brush. Okay. So I'm gonna start over here, and I'm gonna work my way around with my leaves. That's the way I'll go around, okay? So just follow me. The leaves are just an almond shape, okay? So we're gonna kind of tuck these in, and you can tuck yours in really wherever you want, okay? I'm gonna tuck my first one in right here. There's one here, and there's another one that kind of comes out to the side over here, okay? So 2 little almond shapes, and then I'm gonna fill them in. And like I said, your paint is gonna be transparent, so you are going to see that black and white coming through, and that is okay. And I'm using my next size down brush. I'm using my 3, or my 5 rather, I'm using a 5. Okay. Just gonna check you guys, make sure everybody's okay. Everybody looks okay. Okay. Now I'm gonna come over here. Now I'm gonna be very light-handed with this next mark, okay? I'm gonna draw a line. It's gonna be my stem, and it's gonna come from this flower out, okay? At the end of it, I'm gonna have one of my leaves. And I'm gonna have another one that kind of comes right here. It doesn't really connect. It's just implied, okay? I'm gonna fill those in. It's really thick. Go. Okay. I'm gonna travel, let's see, up this way. I'm gonna come way out here. It's gonna feel kind of funny to do a leaf way out here, but we're gonna add in our little speckly flowers here. So in the middle of my ear, I'm gonna draw a stem, a random little stem, right, kind of coming near that white part of my ear. And I'm gonna draw in my leaf right there. Then I'm gonna come up to the top part of my painting. I'm gonna do two more. I'm gonna do one right here. Draw my leaf. And I'm gonna do one right here. Drawing my leaf. Fill those in. Okay. So at this point, you have all your leaves and you can go back around and you can add on another layer. And for some of you, one more layer will be just enough, and others might want to go around again. That's totally up to you. I did two. My paint is tacky because I did a really nice thin layer. So if your paint is still a little bit thick, you might need to wait to do your next layer, and that's just fine. We'll just paint the flowers next, and then you can go back and paint over your leaves. I don't need to redo the stems. The stems are fine. They could be a little bit thinner. Okay. If you want to get fancy, you can paint in a vein running down the center of your leaves. Just get a little bit of a darker green. You can mix a little bit of red with your green. Red and green are complements on the color wheel, and so they will darken each other, or eventually they'll make a neutral if you mix them too much. You'll get like a brown, but you can make a really pretty, like a army green if you mix a little bit of red. Or you can mix black. You can mix black with your green, but that tends to dull the color, and our painting is just so vibrant and beautiful. You might try to make a different green by using its complement, but whatever you think. Sometimes too, if you mix black with a color that already has white mixed into it, it'll gray out the color too, so you don't want to do that, okay? Okay, guys, let's see here. This very last step is kind of preference here. You can jump back up to your largest brush that we were using before, or you can stay with your size 5. I'm gonna jump back up. I'm gonna make sure it's nice and clean. It's just easier, I think, if you use the large brush, because all we're gonna be doing is using this brush kind of like a stamp. So let me show you these flowers. So see how they're just kind of speckled here? They're just kind of pressed in here, okay? So I'm gonna show you how to do that. And this is the last step of our painting. So you can decide what color you want these to be. I'm just gonna use what I have on my palette. We kind of use all the colors here. We're using a pink, so pick a pink that you like. And we're using that peachy color, okay? That really yellowy color, and we're using white. So 3 different colors, distinctly different colors is what you want, okay? So I'm gonna first start with my pink. And what I'm gonna do is just get it really, lots of it on my brush. It's just really on there. It's kind of gobby. And I'm just gonna take the top half of my brush and I'm gonna press it. See how that made kind of a circle, but not really a circle, just like a press mark, right? So it's just, I'm not applying my whole brush, I'm just applying the top part of my brush, the top half of my brush. And I'm just gonna do this randomly. I'm not trying to make a pattern. I'm just layering them over my ear area, okay? And then I'm gonna do a couple up here. I'm gonna even go on top of my leaf, if I can. Just a couple up here, okay? But mostly down in this area. And if you want to, you can even kind of come down this way if you want to, okay? But I'm just gonna be right up in this area, okay? I didn't think too much about that, and I did that pretty quickly so that my brain couldn't register what my hand was doing and tell me not to do it, okay? Because inevitably your brain will want to make a pattern and you'll start layering them in a really nice pattern. And then if you mess up that pattern, you'll just constantly be looking back at that section being like, oh man. So try not to do a pattern. Now I'm gonna grab that peach and I'm gonna layer as well. And I'm even going on top of my pinks a little bit. Okay, just layering those on there, a couple up in there as well. I might do one little random one out there, another one out there. All right, I'm gonna wipe that off. And the last color I'm gonna do is white. Okay, I'm gonna get some nice big gobs of white here. And I'm just gonna dab on a few. They're even a little bit smaller. Just applying a little bit less pressure. Okay, and you wanna kind of take a step back and look and make sure you like it. Now, you can go really crazy with these, so less is more, be careful, okay? Okay, and you did it. So I'm gonna show you the difference between our paintings tonight so you can see. The same painter, I painted both of these paintings, but they have two very different personalities, right? My flowers are a little different, my face is a little bit different. One feels a little sassier than the other one. One feels a little calmer. So I cannot wait to see the personalities of your cows. I cannot wait to see how they came out. I hope that you love them. And if you don't, you might just need a little bit of space or another glass of wine or something, because I'm sure it's really awesome. I do tell people too, you know, those of you who have painted with me lots of times before, you've heard me say this, but get some perspective. Go to bed, and when you wake up in the morning and you look at your painting, you're going to be really proud of yourself. This is a really challenging painting, and you did it. So I'm really thrilled that you decided to paint this tonight. So if there's something that you don't like about your painting, take a picture of it and send it to me through Messenger, and I can help you figure out if a line needs to be longer, or if a flower needs to be bigger, or whatever it is. We can kind of work through that together. I'm more than happy to do that. I'll be here late working anyway, so feel free to just send me messages. I don't mind at all. I love it. But please send me a picture of the final painting. I would love to see the final painting. I would love to see where you're painting, your palette, your paper towel. I love all that stuff. I love to see what it looks like. So that's awesome. Pat, that is awesome. I knew you were going to do something different than flowers. I didn't know what it was going to be, but I was excited to find out. That turned out great. Oh, you guys, that turned out awesome. I love it. I love it. I love it. Denise, nice. Savannah, really nice. Very nice. Very cool. Very cool. Stephanie, awesome. Natalie, awesome. All of you guys. John, it turned out great. So great. You did a great job. Wow, y'all. I'm very impressed. I hope you're impressed with yourself too. Yeah, good. Good. Tasha, Marcy, good job, you guys. This might be my favorite painting that you guys have done yet. I hope you love them. They're really cute. Really, really cute. Wow, you guys, super fun personalities too. So please send me a final picture of your painting. I'll try to remember to post up a group photo if that's okay with you guys. I'll get them all up and post them. So please, 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 if you have any questions, please send me a message. I would love to help you figure out if there's something with your painting that you're not happy with. The last thing I'm going to remind you guys of, well, two things actually. Please wash your brushes. Wash them just in warm water, a little bit of soap if you feel like it, but it's not necessary. Just run water through them and get all the paint out of them. Don't leave them in your water cup overnight. The bristles will bend to the bottom of your cup because they're sitting in there, and it makes it hard for the next person to get that perfect mark. Okay, so run them under hot water or warm water, get all the paint out, and just lay them out on a paper towel to dry, and then swing them back by the shop as soon as you can. Preferably by Friday would be awesome, because I put together next week's kits by Friday, Saturday sometimes. Those of you who know me real well know, I guess it's really Saturday, isn't it? But Friday's ambitious, so help me. So if you bring back your brushes, then I can redistribute them to other people. So please do that. That would be awesome. And if you want to do it when we're not here, you can leave them on our patio. Just let me know. Just send me a message and say, hey, April, I put them on a table, or I put them in a planter, or wherever you put them. I don't care. It's totally fine. Just let me know where you put them so I can go and get them when we open again in the morning. Other than that, last thing I'm going to tell you is some of you heard me talk about an ultimate paint kit. Some of you already have it, but those of you who don't have it, it is a kit that comes with all of the colors that you use tonight in large bottles that will last you a very long time. I believe it's 9 different colors. Plus it comes with 11 different brushes. So you never have to return your brushes again. They are yours to keep forever and ever. You never have to get them back to me quick. You can treat them however you want. It's great. It also comes with 3 canvases and 3 classes with me. So normally my classes are $15. These just come with the kit. And then once you've used up these 3 free classes, your classes will only be $10 afterwards. Okay, they will not be $15. They will only ever be $10. Okay. And you can buy more canvases from me if you want to, or I can send you links to lots of different places you can buy canvases. So that ultimate paint kit is $100. So if anybody is interested in that, just send me a message and I'm happy to put one together for you. Other than that, I think that's it for tonight. Thank you guys so much once again for joining me this week and for supporting our small business. I can't tell you enough how much I appreciate it. Y'all are what makes this happen. So thank you for coming again. And I'll post up, actually, I can tell you what next week's painting is if you want to see it real quick. This is going to be next week's, okay? So this is for my Florida girls. I know I have a lot of Florida painters. So this is for you guys, okay? Or for anybody who's been to the beach recently, okay? So this is going to be next week. I'll post this up tomorrow, and you guys can sign up the way you always do. Just send me a message, whatever you want to do, okay? All right, guys. Thank you again. Thank you, guys. Bye, you guys. Have a great night. Send me pictures. Bye, Amy. Bye. Bye, bye, bye.
Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. Bye, Savannah. Bye, Mom. Awesome.
There.